I am Mr. Nubbins, and this is the intro coming. Hit it. What's up, all you cool snakes and neonates? How's it going? Reptile Rich and Mr. Nubbins in the house, giving you guys some awesome tips today on how to save electricity keeping reptiles. Yes, I know the cost of living has went sky high recently. Electricity has went up. Oil and fuel and all that have went up. Isn't it funny how whenever we have a war in a country, that's the only place we get our oil from, you know? Crazy. But never mind. We can't do anything about it other than try and save ourselves some pennies. We got a smart meter. We've been testing everything and anything, checking the smart meter as we go, and we've actually managed to reduce our electricity bill by almost £2 a day, like £1.50 £1.50 a day. That's a crazy amount of saving considering how much we go through here with these animals. So I've put this video here together for you guys to try and help my fellow herpers, my fellow sort of reptile and animal lovers save some electricity. And to be honest with you, some of the stuff that will be in this video will help you even if you don't even have reptiles. Some of this stuff will just help you throughout the house. So without further ado guys, let's take a look at some of these energy saving tips. Replacing old gear. Great way to go. Stuff gets old, it wears out over time. All your electrical stuff is constantly working, constantly on. So this stuff's going to wear out all eventually anyway, okay? So that's things from lighting to thermostats to heat mats to bulbs and things like that. Your thermostat's the best way to tell if your thermostat, or I've found the best way to tell if your thermostat is getting old and is possibly using more energy than it should do is by physically feeling it while it's running. Have a little sort of feel of it and make sure there's nowhere on it is hot. If there's somewhere on it that's hot to the touch, it's wasting electricity with that heat. Your thermostat should never be hot, or this part of the thermostat anyway, the dial should never be hot. So have a good feel of this and have a look. Also visually inspect it. I have seen them start to go brown with like burning when they've been heating and things like that, because we get donated a lot of gear. So we always test it before we use it and let it run for a little while and see if anything's getting hot, and if it's cool to the touch, it's working perfectly, it's doing its job. Also watch the light, make sure it's turning on and off as it should do. So this thermostat right here is working perfectly. While you're looking over equipment, check your ceramics as well. Always, of course, I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but sometimes there has to be warning labels put on things. And make sure that your ceramics are off and cold before you start touching them, looking at them and inspecting them. So have a look at your cables around the top of your ceramics. These often dry up, get heated, and then the wire starts cracking and disintegrating. Only if you're competent and confident, you know what you're doing, you can pull these apart and you can actually bare the wires back to good wire and reconnect them all back inside here. It's always a good opportunity to give the connectors inside here and things like that a good rub down and an emerald or something like that and get them back to the metal, because they get, with humidity and things like that, they can get a little bit lime scaly, and there's like a build up of sort of a lime scaly substance can appear on them. Of course, like I say, if you're not competent with that guys, don't start playing with electrics. What I'll often do is when I take things apart, I'll take a picture of it on my phone so that I guarantee and remember that I'm putting them back and the cable's in the right place, that they came off again, because there will be a blue and a brown wire, or black and a brown wire I think, inside these. So yeah, that's another thing you can have a look at. Again, if you're not confident, just replace it. Can't go wrong with some good new kit. Extensions. One thing that I found out recently is do not overload your extensions. I find that maybe 2 ceramic bulbs are maximum, 3 if you're lucky. You will notice a massive increase in electricity if you overload your extensions. Heat mats have a lot lower voltage, so you'll be able to pop a lot more heat mats onto extension. But I find, I'm sure, like two ceramics and 1 heat mat will be fine for your normal, well, all your typical extensions I think are like 250 volts or something like that, it says on them. Max load 250 volts, yes. So don't exceed that, and bearing in mind your ceramics and all that are 100 to 150 wattage, so be very careful with how much power you're putting through your extensions. Guys, have a wee play with your plugs and extensions, try and spread them out as much as you can so you're not overloading them. And while we're on the subject of plugs, actually, refrain from using timers. I know some people use timers. I used to use timers on them and it was great. You just let the stuff do the thing. Don't be lazy. Take the time at nights, unplug everything. Don't just turn it off at the switch, unplug it. You will save yourself tons and tons of electricity. Honestly, you will be amazed. If you've got a smart meter watcher, that's what we did. We were amazed at how much electricity we saved just by unplugging things. Know your species of animals. Some animals are fine with your typical room temperature of 21 to 24 degrees at night, which is what it is in here. The lowest it drops is about 18 through the winter, and some species are fine with that. So do your homework on your species as well and figure out if you can afford to unplug stuff. This Viv room here, now all the animals are in here, it stays around 21, 24, so a lot of the animals, like the tegu and the bearded dragon, just get their heat completely turned off at nights, and they're totally fine with that, have been for years. And that's how I've always done it. So yeah, don't put things on timers, just plug them in and unplug them when you're done with them, guys. Honestly, you will save tons that way. Draft proofing is another good way to save electricity. I know that's no secret, but trust me, we knew about it. We didn't really do it. We did it on a few bits and bobs in the houses. But we draft proof everything now. It makes a massive difference, especially if you're lucky enough like me to have an actual Viv room. Draft proof the heck out of your Viv room. It not only stops cold drafts from coming in, hot air from escaping, but it will also escape proof your Viv room as well. If you get any little escapees, you don't have to worry about them getting out from gaps under the doors or whatever. You can guarantee they're going to be in that room. Always draft proof everywhere you can. All the draft proofing stuff you guys can see here are actually from Amazon. Another thing you can do in, say, your bottom Vivs with a heat mat underneath is use this stuff. This is the heat reflective stuff you put down the back of radiators. Pop this underneath a Viv. Any heat that comes down will get reflected back up into the Viv and save you electricity and heat in that way as well. Another top tip for you guys today, remember that heat rises. So when you're putting your heat in your Vivs, if you have a stack of vivariums, stack the heat sources on top of each other in a line right down the Viv, because you're going to want to establish a hot end and a cold end, and remember, heat rises. So always keep your heat sources on the same sides of your vivariums right down your stack, and you'll actually save yourself a good bit of electricity through that. If you know your species quite well, what I actually do is I have a radiator on Hunter here, and the radiator actually is on the roof, and it heats up a perfect basking spot for Shelby here. So Shelby actually uses the same heat source as Hunter does. But again, know your animals and know what your temperatures are before you even attempt that. Don't just randomly throw a heat source in here and expect it to come up to here. I did a lot of research on that personally, with checking temperatures and things like that, making sure it was fine daytime, nighttime and all that kind of stuff. And it is absolutely spot on. So yeah, stack your heat sources, and if you can, double up your heat sources. So there's another top tip for you guys. Well, we're looking at the Vivs as well. There, it's quite hard when the camera's facing you. That is the ventilation. Now here in the UK, I'm going to say this that I say it in all the videos, guys. Remember, I'm in Scotland, UK. So, and my conditions in my house might be completely different to the conditions in your house, but this is stuff that I've found that works in my conditions. Something for you to try out and see if it works in your conditions. Remember, if you're ever changing anything in your Vivs, keep a close eye on the animals, the temperatures, the humidities. If you're ever experimenting with things, keep a close eye on things. Don't just make a change and leave the animal and assume it to be fine because some idiot on YouTube has said it'll be great. You know, keep an eye on your stuff. So, ventilation. Don't overdo it. I noticed a lot of the vivariums supplied here in the UK had too much ventilation. And I copied them when I was building my Vivs and put too much ventilation in, until one day it hit me. I looked at one of the other Vivs that didn't have a lot of ventilation, and it was keeping humidity fantastically, it was keeping temperatures brilliantly, and the others were struggling. And I remember like looking at the Viv and thinking, there's no ventilation in that. It had like a tiny strip of ventilation under and over the glass. So I was like, right, okay. So I did it to all of these guys are only on 2 vents in each viv, and it made a huge difference. Holds heat in, holds humidity in a lot better, unless you're running a viv with a stupid amount of humidity to the point where you are soaking everything all the time. There are very few species that need that kind of thing anyway. You'd be fine with just like 2 little vents, one at each side, or one top, one bottom on one side, or whatever like that, in your vivarium. Don't overdo your ventilation. As you know, if you're sitting in your living room in the winter and there's a window just a little bit open, you can feel that freezing cold draft coming in. Remember, there is a gap between your glass anyway, so that is a whole big bit of air coming in and going out and escaping out of the vivarium, or ventilating the vivarium as well. So yeah, remember that there are holes in other places as well, so don't overdo your ventilation, guys, because you're just going to let heat out. You're going to make all your components work a lot harder to maintain the heat in there. Another point as well, if you're lucky enough like me to be able to put your animals all in their own room, do it. If you've got your animals in your living room with high amounts of traffic, kids are coming in, opening the doors and closing the doors all the time, they're going to let all that heat out. All your thermostats are going to have to work hard to build all that heat back up again. So please try and put your animals, or another tip you can do is try and put your animals all in one room with less traffic. So I hope you guys found that useful there. What did you think, Mr. Nubbins? Was that useful? Yes, that was useful, says Mr. Nubbins, the 2 bearded gentlemen here today. So, I hope you guys enjoyed that. As always, like, subscribe, comment, share the channel around, hit the bell button, all that good stuff. You guys know what you're doing. It helps me out tremendously. I'm trying to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. So if you aren't subscribed yet, if you're just checking out this video, if you're come through this video from another video, you like what we're doing here, guys, please, please, please hit that subscribe button. We really need these subscribers. I really want to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. If you're watching this, you're subscribed, you've not shared the channel onto your Facebook page or something, please do that. Get your friends involved and family involved and all that kind of stuff, guys. Help me along with this mission of inspiring conservation, preservation, and showing off these awesome animals and showing people they aren't bad animals at all. So, thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Take it easy. Peace.
Done. I'm done.